Hello. Today I am going to talk a little bit about labels. Not so much about what to put on a label, but labels in general. What kind of label you might want to put on your garment or your accessory and why. And then some tips as far as what to do, what not to do when it comes to selecting a label, as well as laying out your label. So the graphic design that goes behind your label, which is of course very important. So some industry lingo for you regarding labels. There's all different types of labels, and honestly, none of them are wrong. It just depends on what you want to do. How do you want to present your garment? How do you want to present your brand? So some labels that you might be familiar with. So this kind of a label right here. So this is called a centerfold label. See, it folds in the center. And you're going to pick a centerfold label when you want to sew something, say in the back of the neck, or maybe into your side seam. So, and what's nice about a centerfold label is you can print on both sides. So when you lay it out, you're actually laying it out just like that. So you can have your logo, whatever you want to put on the front, your website, but then you can also have your care and content, you can have your laundering instructions, and some people leave this part blank. It's, it depends once again how you're going to present your logos. So what's important with any kind of a label is to make sure that you've got clearance wherever this is being sewn, because what you don't want is you don't want stitching to go over any part of your label where there's a graphic or there's words. So one thing that's important to know from your factory is what is the seam allowance that they're using. So the seam allowance is basically, let's say you're putting two seams together. How much extra fabric is going into that seam? Is it a 1/4 inch? Is it a 1/2 inch? It can differ from factory to factory. There isn't a single standard. So you do want to ask that question. And when you lay out your label, you want to make sure you've got that much clearance at the top here. But I take that a step farther and I bring that graphic down even more. And the reason that I do that is because you've probably seen a lot of products in the stores where the label's a little crooked or it's been placed up too high. And again, you just want to make sure that nothing's getting cut off. So I would rather have a little bit more clearance and know for sure that nothing's going to get cut off than to risk it. And that might be what tells you how big or small you want to go here, how much information you want to put here, because remember, you've got that back as well. So that's a centerfold label. There is also another kind of label that's pretty commonly used, and this is called an end fold label. So only the sides are folded back, and they come that way from the printer. You don't have to actually do that. And then with this one, the stitching is going to go here and the stitching is going to go here. Again, this one or this one, it's up to you. It's what you want it to look like. When it comes to budgeting, this could be less expensive for you than this, not because the label itself is less expensive, but if you're sewing this in, it's an extra step. When you're sewing this in, while you're serging the back neck, the side seam, wherever this label's going, this can also have just like care content and be the label that's over here in your side seam. This is an extra step. So that means after your garment's put together, a sewer still has to go in and sew this on. So not a lot of cost because it's quick, but it also has to be, marked. Where's that placement going so that it's consistent, but it's an extra step. So it's something to think about, but it's also a particular look. Now, this is another kind that's pretty cool. So this is a singular label that looks like a double label, and it's all in how the label's laid out. So it's actually one label. It's printed on both sides, but the way that it's folded looks like it's two. So that's a cool option as well. This is called a clamp tag. So basically a clamp tag goes around something. So it could go around a cuff like this, short sleeve cuff, the bottom down here, all different places that you can put a clamp tag. This is nice because it's small and yet your branding is still clear, and you can actually see this even when you're not seeing the inside of the garment. So it's really making your brand more obvious to people. And then again, you can print both sides. So this one's got a Made in USA on the back, which is a nice touch, or it could just be the single side. Another one, well, this is that end fold again, but I do want to show you this. You can see with this one is way too close to the edges. So when this gets stitched, you're stitching right over that black rectangle. So that is a what not to do. This one is just called a straight cut. So it is nothing but this. You're going to do something like this when you want to sew around all four sides. This can go on the inside of your garment. It can go on the outside of your garment. Again, it's totally up to you. And again, you want to make sure you're leaving that clearance so that you can stitch around it and not get anything onto words or images, logos, graphics. And where this one is a little more expensive, this one's going to be even more expensive than that because now it's got to be sewn around all four sides. So again, it's a look. It's a cool look. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing particularly right about this or this or this or this. It's your aesthetic. It's your brand. So they're just things that you want to think about, and they're things that you should be talking to your factory about right at the get-go. Some people don't think about labels until they get to the end of the road, but you want to think about it now. And then one other way you can go is you can do heat transfers. We do this a lot when we're making our t-shirts because I don't particularly like a label in my t-shirt. For a hoodie, it doesn't bother me at all if there's a label there, but I really don't like it on a t-shirt, that thing that is really like first layer against my skin. And there's all different types of heat transfers that you can do, and you can put this in anything. This could be in a hoodie, this could be anywhere, this could be in a hat. Actually, this is the heat transfer that we use for our hats. It could just be your branding, especially if you are buying pre-made items and it already has a care content label. A lot of pre-made items, you can just tear out the logo label and then you can just heat transfer your label right inside the back of the garment or on the front of the garment or anywhere you want. Inside, outside, doesn't matter. So these are all great options. If you're doing really low quantities, heat transfers are more economical. Labels are a world where the fewer you purchase, they cost a lot more. Like you could be paying $3 for a label because you're only doing 12, or you could be paying like 15 cents for a label if you're doing 3,000. So really important to think about how many you are going to be producing and let your labels reflect that. Again, you've got a higher, a higher priced item and you want to make sure there's like really, really nice flourishes and you want sewn on all four sides or something like that, or maybe you've got multiple labels going into it. It's all good. It's about your brand. It's about your price point. It's about your presentation, your aesthetic, and it's totally up to you. I hope that helped.